Hi there everybody, Nubkeks here, and welcome to the final part of our series here of tier lists, looking at the different roles in Heroes of the Storm and talking about which heroes in those roles are the best designed, are the most fun, add the most to the game, and then vice versa, which heroes are the least fun and have these big design problems. And today we're diving into ranged assassins. We've got the tier list up for every other different role, so feel free to check those out if you so wish. And again, we're going by the roles as they are defined in the game since the role rework. So we're looking at all of these ranged assassins here today. Again, for these last couple of tier lists, I think this is a better structure. Instead of going alphabetically, instead we're going to start from the bottom and make our way up. So, well, let's dive right into it. And in the F tier, some of the absolute worst heroes in the game. First hero I'm going to put in here, and in my opinion, probably the worst, is Kel'Thuzad. We got a great comment on one of the previous tier list videos where the person said, "Oh God, I'm really sad now because I think that Nubkeks is going to put Kel'Thuzad into a really bad tier." So I was obviously disappointed that that person was disappointed by that potential placement, but my heart swelled with pride a little bit that after laying down kind of the criteria for what I think are good heroes, that person was instantly able to recognize that Kel'Thuzad sucks. Because Kel'Thuzad fucking sucks. He's awful. He's so bad. There's actually multiple layers. There's multiple layers for how bad this hero is. So number one, Kel'Thuzad's core gameplay and the core design of his kit has been built around one of the worst gameplay interactions in the game, which is the idea of one-shotting people. I talk a lot about counterplay being important in these tier lists when I'm looking at heroes. And what Kel'Thuzad does is he gets you in his combo, and the second that combo starts, what he does, the way he works is he attempts to 100 to 0 a squishy hero within that combo, and once it starts, there's absolutely nothing that player can do about it. They're just locked down, CC'd, and blown up, which is extremely unfun. The other big part of what makes a hero really unfun in terms of ranged assassins, in terms of damage dealers, I think that just instantly blowing someone up with no counterplay sucks. And I also think that heroes that chunk you for massive portions of health from range that you can't even see coming also sucks. So again, another pre-rework Chromie, original Chromie was another perfect example of a hero that would fit in the F tier. We'll talk more about Chromie in a little bit, but yeah, just again, original Chromie, that's exactly what she used to do. She just chunked you from really far out of range, you couldn't even see it coming, or she just one-shot you with temporal loop, and it was just bad. Same thing with Kel'Thuzad, it's just bad. So, he gets once he has Glacial Spike or with your tank, and that's one thing that's also frustrating about it, is the combo starts from the chain off of one of your frontliners or off of a Glacial Spike. So that has a very long range on it relative to where Kel'Thuzad is. So instead, I think a good comparison would be Jaina. Okay, so Jaina is the original Frost Mage in the game. Kel'Thuzad is the second Frost Mage added. Jaina does have the potential to absolutely burst you and blow you up. But with Jaina that there's a lot you can play around that. She's a slow-moving hero, and she's got very short range. A core part of her burst is the Cone of Cold, which is a really short cone ability that emanates from Jaina, so she needs to be close to you. Or then Ring of Frost has got a big arming time, which kind of needs setup from her team and so on. Or Blizzard, you have to get stuck in the Blizzard for multiple waves to hit you, and so on and so forth. So there's quite a lot of counterplay to Jaina, and you can see it coming, and that's really important. With the Kel'Thuzad chain, with the Glacial Spike, or firing it off one of your heroes, that adds just a really frustrating level of gameplay for a ranged assassin. You just have to constantly play in fear of this really annoying ability that has such a wide variety of places it can come from, and it just stops you from moving forwards into the fight. Because, again, if you get hit by that ability and it's difficult to dodge, you have to really watch for it, and if you get hit by it, bam, just 100 to 0, you're just dead. It sucks. It's really bad. Against Jaina, again, for example, I can move forwards, I can attack her as she's coming forwards. Against Kel'Thuzad, it's really, really annoying that way. It's not even fun for his team either, because it's so binary, right? It's a very binary thing. Either he hits you with his chain and pulls you into that full combo, or if that chain misses, well, pretty much all of his abilities have been fired at where that person is going to be chained to. So if he misses, well, then the hero is basically completely useless and all of his abilities are on cooldown and he's just sat there having achieved absolutely nothing, right? It's either 100 to 0. It's 100 or 0 kind of sums him up in that sense. Not only in how he kills people, but also in his effectiveness in the team fight. He's either one-shotting people or he's doing almost nothing. So that's unfun for people playing against him. It's also unfun for his teammates. That's not a fun thing to play around. On top of that, another layer of stuff that sucks about Kel'Thuzad are the way his skill shots work. So obviously HOTS would function probably better as a top-down game in terms of how skill shots work. But it looks better coming at a slight angle. However, Kel'Thuzad is extremely tall as a hero, and he fires his spells from his hands, right? Well, here's the thing, is that those spells, their hitbox doesn't actually correspond to his hands. It's more like they travel along the ground from his feet. So you can try this out yourself in try mode and have some fun with this, but where the spell's hitbox doesn't actually match up all that well from particular angles with the visual indicator. So that's really annoying. And it actually takes away a lot from his Q build in particular. Because his Q ability is like a skill shot. It explodes on the end and then it leaves a pool on the ground. So you got a number of just bad interactions happening there, which number one, the skill shot itself, the hitbox isn't always where it logically ought to be. It doesn't match the visual projectile. And then if it doesn't match that, it's really difficult to actually aim the explosion. So you'll find when you play Kel'Thuzad that pool, the Death and Decay pool that leaves behind, can be in really random places, or like where does it go based off the target hitbox that it hit. It's all very awkward and really random. And again, that just drags him away more from what I think would be interesting, which would be sort of zone control and damage over time. I think that would be a cool niche for a mage to have. But instead, it ends up being just really clunky, so it's really awkward to use. And that also affects his chain a bit as well, which again leads to just more frustration when those chains are missed when it looks like they should. The chain also has like this sort of latch-on property. So like Imperius's hook is a similar thing. Or not hook, but Imperius's spear is a similar thing, where even if he slightly misses, if the hitbox, which is bigger than that, hits you, you'll get kind of pulled to the center of the spear when Imperius stabs you. Like, that's not that annoying, really. It's a little bit wonky. It's a bit like aim assist in Call of Duty or something. But you know, when it comes to the chains from Kel'Thuzad, it will do the same sort of thing. So you can sometimes end up with these extra long chains, the kind of extra stretchy chains that pull you even further if it kind of just barely clips you as you're dashing away or something, which is just an awful interaction as well. I just don't like it. And then a third layer of how he sucks is he's got one of the most bizarre baseline quests in the game. Let me actually grab you the exact numbers here just to confirm. Yeah, just to confirm, as you can see, you have to generate blight by rooting heroes or hitting them with chains. And when you get 30 stacks, you get 75% spell power. I think this is the first time I've ever really brought up a talent mid-video. I think you guys could see that just because of how bizarre this is. 75% spell power is an absolutely astronomical amount of damage. Once you finish that quest, you're doing almost double the damage. Why is this a thing? Why does this exist? Again, it's 100 or 0. It's while Kel'Thuzad is trying to finish this quest, he's next to useless. His damage sucks. And then it's once he's finished the quest, bam, then he's at 100. Now he's actually like a decent, useful hero. I'm going to tell you exactly why it's bad design. It's the same thing they did with Chromie, with one of her reworks, where they went, okay, Chromie is just one-shotting people and chunking people from out of their range, and it's extremely frustrating, and everybody hates this hero. And they said, okay, what do we do about Chromie? So one of their first rework attempts was, well, give her a big old quest to finish, right? So it makes her, the theory is that it makes that hero less annoying because you don't have to deal with that one-shot potential for the first few minutes of the game because they have to finish the quest. It is a little less annoying, but then it also comes with a whole bunch of problems where Chromie feels bad to play. When they finish their quest early, it's super annoying. People miss playing and getting hit and finishing the quest is really annoying. It's just bad. This quest literally doesn't need to exist. You could remove that quest and it'd be obnoxious because you'd be getting one shot by Kel'Thuzad in lane and nobody wants that. It's just super shitty. But that quest doesn't need to be there. Or at most it could be like 20% spell power. Then it's still a massive, noticeable increase, but it's not totally overpowered. So, yeah, it's got a lot of problems. That being said, you know, there's a couple of things I do like about Kel'Thuzad. I think they've been making some good changes to him recently. They've kept nerfing his one-shot potential, and they keep buffing his other heroic, the Frostblast one, which I think is more interesting. So they're trying to fix him and make him make him just a better hero. But like I think much like Valera, Kel'Thuzad, she's one of the only other F tier heroes I put in here. I really think that these heroes, well, they seemed like a good idea at the time. And, you know, okay, it was cool that we made the attempt to design these heroes and add them to the game. I think this is the point where you go, okay, looking at Valera, looking at Kel'Thuzad, you go, right, you know what? Just like they did, again, we'll talk about Chromie, but just like they did with Chromie, you go, you know what? This hero design, it actually just fundamentally sucks. Let's really change how that hero fundamentally plays quite a lot to make them actually fit into the game. Like, it was maybe a good idea to try, but we fucked up, we screwed up. So let's just really drastically rework this hero because they need it to actually be a decent part of this game. Like I said, Kel'Thuzad, he's got some interesting aspects to that. I love the idea of a frost mage that's about kind of slowing and controlling and zone control, and you know, it's about damage over time, death, decay, that sort of thing. Really don't like the one-shot thing. You know, you could, for example, give his Q death and decay, like make it like that Deathwing one. You've got the tech there where, you know, you put it on the ground and it's that sort of thing. Might be more consistent, more fun. Anyway, there you go. That's Kel'Thuzad. He's awful. I'm sorry. He's just really bad. Also in the F tier, only one more hero in the F tier, and that hero is Gaul. That hero is Gaul. Gaul is also really, really bad. The idea of Gaul, it's really cool. The idea of Cho'Gall, I should say, is really cool. That, you know, two characters in one, interacting with each other, and the idea of like Gaul being this mage, being sort of the artillery platform that Cho is carrying around is pretty awesome. But Gaul has had an awful lot of problems. And like I said, I when I talked about Cho in the was it in the tanks video or the bruiser video? I can't even remember now. I think it's in tanks. Yeah, it's in tanks. But I think Cho is actually pretty decent. I think Gaul, though, is very, very underwhelming. The problem with Gaul is that he just doesn't have a lot of interesting gameplay. His kit is just kind of bad. So, obviously, unlike every other hero in the game, basically, you don't have any movement. That's all really handled by Cho. So that removes a whole layer of gameplay from the game about moving around the map and positioning and all that strategy. That's just not there for Gaul, which already makes him kind of dull. But then you look at his basic abilities. He's got his Q, which just fires a small line skill shot, which does a bit of damage. It's really not very exciting at all. When you compare it to like the other mages and like the interesting things that they can do with, like, you know, Kel'Thuzad with Flame Strike, Gleaming with her Arcane Orb or something. They're interesting skill shots with interesting effects. The Gaul skill shot is just really not. I think also the blobs that he shoots out, whatever they're called, the Dread Orb or something. Again, it's a cool visual effect, this blob bouncing, but it again does almost no damage. It just feels extremely underwhelming. It's just really boring to use, and like any thought that you put into it just doesn't really end up translating into any gameplay effect whatsoever. It's just kind of there. Gaul also, for the longest time, had a very degenerate build. Cho'Gall did. They were a very degenerate hero, where it was literally all about stacking an infinite bomb quest to just one-shot people with a bomb in the late game. And that was, for the longest time, after they were reworked, actually, the entirety of their gameplay. And obviously that was nerfed a while ago, and they put a cap on that. But, I mean, it's still there, and I think Gaul's design still suffers from it. And again, the gameplay of bomb for Gaul is really limited, because you don't even aim the bomb. All you do is you press the button to detonate the bomb when it goes over heroes. So there's, you know, it's kind of a tacked on way to make them interact with each other. I think it's okay that it's there. It's not very interesting, but it's the most interesting out of his basic abilities, which is kind of sad, isn't it? It's not something that you even aim or do anything with. It's just you press a button when your teammate has put the targeting reticle over a hero. It's very dull. So yeah, that's underwhelming. I will say with Gaul, I do like both of his heroics a lot. I think both heroics are cool. You've got the channel Shadow Bolt Volley, which you can sort of aim, and you have to work together with Cho to get the maximum value out of it. Or you've got the Nether Eruption, whatever it is, where you channel this big explosion around Cho, and again, he has a few seconds to position and then you can explode it at any time that you want. So again, it kind of encourages you to work together. I think those are really good. He's got two great heroics, but I think his talents are generally just really boring, and his basic abilities all suck as well. So yeah, I don't know. Cho'Gall will be a much more interesting hero and a lot more viable. I just have a much better place in the game, I think, if they had better interactions. Oh, I also didn't mention his trait, which is Dreadful. That was something added in the rework for Cho on Gall, where Cho can turn on the trait and gain armor, or Gall can turn it on and gain spell power. Well, much like spell power with Kel'Thuzad, is just why is it there? With Cho Gall, for Gall's damage to be even somewhat meaningful, you need to have his trait turned on, which just makes Cho unable to be tanky. It just, essentially, Gall's trait just stops Cho from doing his role. It's like, okay, the idea is to create interaction between the two, but in reality, all it ends up doing is saying, one of you can have your trait active, and only the person with their trait active can actually do the job that they're in the game to do. The other one is just a bad hero. So either Cho without the armor is like extremely squishy and can't actually do any tanking or frontlining. Gall without the spell power can't do any damage and can't be a mage. So it's just a mess. I just don't think they're good heroes, I'm sorry to say. Next up in the D tier, going into the D tier. So not quite as bad as the F tier, but still pretty bad heroes. I'm going to put Genji there. I'm putting Genji in the D tier. And this makes me sad. Genji is one of the most hated heroes in the game. Everybody hates Genji. People, complaining about Overwatch heroes was a big part of the game. That was kind of your stamp of being a cool in the know player, was to complain that Overwatch heroes have too much mobility. Because of course half of the Overwatch heroes included people like Zarya and Ana, who have no mobility whatsoever. So, I mean, making inaccurate generalizations is always it's a mark of honor. Now, okay, I'm obviously taking the piss and being sarcastic here, but yeah, no, with Genji, I actually disagree with the community perception of Genji. I really do. I think when Genji first came out, he was obviously a bit overpowered, but after the first few nerfs, or first like nerf or two, I actually thought that Genji was amazing. I thought he was a great hero, and that sort of not quite original Genji, but Genji after a few balance passes for me would have been in like an A or maybe even an S tier hero. I thought he was phenomenal. I thought he was great. The super high mobility assassin, again, very like a melee assassin. Played a lot really like Zeratul or kind of like Kira, actually. Kira being a sort of a newer Genji-esque hero. Who has, Genji, you'd have these big impact heroics with Dragon Blade. You'd have lots of mobility, but obviously the trade-off would be that, like Zeratul, he's going to be more about roaming the map and ganking and picking off heroes, but the general team fighting is a bit weaker, and certainly the laning, the pushes, the merc camps, map objectives, he's not as good as those things. He's very much an assassin. I thought he really captured that fantasy in a really fun way. I thought Genji was great. But obviously, most people really hated Genji, and Blizzard have continued to nerf him to really the point of obscurity, of just his kit no longer really working and no longer really making sense, and he just feels like a really weak hero. He's very much a shadow of his former self, so that's why I put him in the D tier. He just doesn't feel good. Like he had, for example, Genji has all these interesting E talents for his dash, his strike, where you can, you make the decision of placing that mobility, and you do damage as you go through, and you get talented in to do stuff like extra damage at the end. Well, all those E talents, just, again, massive design blow came to those when, with Dragon Strike, his heroic, in the past, would give him resets on his E talents, giving you an interesting option with the E build, and making those talents a lot more interesting, because you get resets on the E if you got kills with Dragon Blade. That got removed, because of balance concerns. I think it's there at level 20 now, but I don't know. You rarely get to see a Genji in a level 20 game. You usually lose before then with Genji. But yeah, it just removed a lot of what was interesting about those talents. I feel like it's such a loss. Yeah, Genji had such great potential, and he was a great hero, but just the community hatred and unwillingness, I think, to play around that, despite there being heroes that do really a very similar thing, and like Zeratul, etc. Yeah, that really took away from what was a really cool hero design. So, sorry, Genji. You used to be interesting, but now you just kind of suck. Also in the D tier, we've got Nova. Nova's terrible. Nova, the sniper hero that manages to feel like much less of a sniper than Ana, who's the healing sniper. But yeah, Nova she's a complete mess of a hero, I have to say. I really don't like her very much. The problem, well, I enjoy playing her for fun, for memes, but she's just pretty bad. The problem with Nova is, again, it's much like, why does Kel'Thuzad have a quest to give him 75% spell power? It's just bad design covering up bad design. Nova's got a similar thing with her baseline quest, which is hitting heroes with snipe. So as you hit heroes with snipe, you get bonus damage on your subsequent snipes. And then once you've hit 5 heroes in a row with snipe, your snipe starts doing a ton of extra damage. Now, if you miss a single snipe, that resets back to 0. So now you have to fire off 5 more snipes and hit all of those before you get back to the quest finish. It's just, again, why is this in the game? Why does this need to be here? It makes absolutely no sense. It's just a quest that makes the hero extremely inconsistent and just a pain in the ass to play as for no real benefit. It's not even that strong. So yeah, it's just bad design. It's a quest that doesn't need to be there. I mean, I kind of suggested something similar with Medivh. I think, a much more interesting way of doing that would be, if you hit a hero with snipe, it could empower your next basic attack. So yeah, you lose out on stuff. You're losing a lot of value if you don't hit your snipe. There's interesting gameplay when you do hit your snipe. Add the anti-armor shell effect or something if you hit a snipe. Cool. There you go. The hero is suddenly a lot more interesting, a lot less frustrating. And I don't know. It doesn't make sense. You miss one snipe and then suddenly you forget how to shoot your gun properly for several shots and you slowly get better and then you miss one shot and forget again. It's like, what is going on with that? It's bizarre. It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, Nova is just, she's kind of a mess. It just doesn't really have a particularly interesting niche in the game. She's just kind of blah. Really, the way to play Nova as well is so dumb. It's just go for snipe talents, and then you get the explosive rounds at level 16, which for some reason makes snipe splash for almost full damage on everything, and at which point she becomes a really strong team fighting hero in just a really bizarre way that makes no sense. Yeah, she's just... I think Nova had some potential to be interesting, but she's just been a little bit of a mess for pretty much forever. I feel like any of these heroes could do better if they got a good bit of love, a good bit of focus, a good bit of attention, but I just don't particularly see that happening. Sorry to say. Next up in the C tier, so I've actually got a picture of where to rank these because there's so many ranged assassins I wasn't going to be able to remember otherwise. In the C tier, kind of like the average heroes, they have some cool things about them and they bring some interesting twists to the game but aren't necessarily all that interesting. I'm actually going to put Cassia in the C tier. Obviously, you guys that watched the stream knew that I played a lot of Cassia at one point, and I do quite like her, but I do feel that all the same, she is a C tier hero. She's kind of there as just an anti-basic attack hero, getting armor while she's moving. It pretty much sums up nearly all you need to know about Cassia. She's really just there to be an anti-physical damage ranged assassin. She's kind of a counter pick, and that's fine, and it's cool that it's in there, but it's just not... I don't know, it's just not all that interesting. She has her blind as well that she applies with her W. It's an AoE blind, so that's cool. She's got the splitting spear skill shot. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, I don't know. For me, Cassia, she's specifically a counter pick, and that's cool, but it doesn't blow me away. I don't really like Cassia's theme either. I don't know. I guess people that play Diablo might have more of an appreciation for it, but Cassia's theme just seems really weird. And to me, as a casual Diablo player, the whole Amazon thing of throwing lightning spears and running around in a skirt and stuff just seems a bit weird. It doesn't seem to fit into what I would have thought to be Diablo half as much as the other characters Li Ming or Nazeebo or Karazim or whatever do. So I don't know. It's a bit of an odd one for me. Or Zul seems really Diablo, or Diablo himself seems really Diablo. Cassia, not so much. I don't know, but obviously she was based off of the Amazon character from D2. It just doesn't really make much sense to me as a casual Diablo fan. In the C tier, I'm also going to put Lunara. Again, another hero that I've really enjoyed playing in the past, but I feel is generally relatively average hero. She's got a cool mechanic, applying poison and spreading that around. She's got a couple of cool heroics as well. They're relatively interesting, Leaping Strike or the Thornwood Vines. So yeah, she's got some cool stuff going. I feel like the Wisp has struggled to be relevant. She's got quite an overpowered level 1 Wisp talent. Aside from that, though, the Wisp doesn't do a whole lot. So yeah, I think Lunara, again, she's just fine. She's solid, and she's nice that she's there. But she's just a very simple hero. She doesn't really have that wow factor. I probably could put her in the B tier, to be honest. I'm going to move her down to C tier, though, just because she was a BlizzCon hero. BlizzCon heroes are usually the WoW heroes, like Ragnaros or Cho'Gall. They're kind of heroes that you go, whoa, that's a really cool thing you got going on. Or Alexstrasza or Hanzo went together in BlizzCon one year. But yeah, Lunara was for some reason a BlizzCon hero, and you just kind of go, well, she's not a recognizable character. She's not like Deathwing or Hanzo, like someone that everybody knows She's just a dryad with just a relatively simple gameplay style. I don't really get why this is a BlizzCon hero. Doesn't really fit. So that knocks her down a tier, which is maybe a bit mean, but there you go. Sorry to Lunara fans. In C tier, I'm also going to put Tychus in the C tier. And we're going to put Tychus in the C tier. Much like these other characters, I think Tychus, he's fine. He's a decent hero. He's grand all around. But again, he doesn't do anything that's particularly wow. Obviously, his minigun is maybe the most interesting thing. So you can activate that and start melting down tanks. So that's like a cool little gimmick. The rest of his kit is quite dull, though. He's got a little bit of a dash. Fine, whatever. Grenade is a little bit of a clunky skill shot. Just does some damage in AoE with a minor knockback. Again, it's relatively uninspiring. And then his Q, the channel thing, is again relatively uninspiring. It just does some bit of splash damage, but it doesn't feel all that meaningful. One thing I do definitely like about Tychus, I do like both of his heroics. I think he's got, again, 2 cool heroics, and I always value that in a hero quite a lot, actually. But yeah, he's got Odin, which is very cool. Get a new set of abilities, which is awesome. The Odin is badass. And arguably, I think you could make a good argument for moving Tychus up just purely based off of Odin. I think Draken Laser Drill, again, is pretty interesting heroic. Drop down the drill, and you could just choose who it targets, and it will just slowly melt away at them. I think that's pretty interesting and pretty unique. But I think his base kit for me is, again, just relatively simple. And it just doesn't wow me all that much. And I don't really like his basic attacking either. It does a lot of DPS, but you kind of have to turret up and stand still, and I just don't particularly like that. I feel like it just feels a bit clunky to play. Again, I'm glad it's there, and I think it's an interesting gimmick for a character to have. I just don't know if it's really that good to play as. On a similar note, which is probably going to offend probably a lot of people because he's quite popular, I'm going to put Zul'jin, though, in the C tier. I'm not a big fan of Zul'jin, to be honest. Like, personally, he's one I like less than these other heroes, but I think he does deserve to be in the C tier, though, alongside them. One of the things I really don't like about Zul'jin, I really don't like the variable attack speed. I think it feels really, really clunky to play as. I think one of the interesting things for heroes that are designed around basic attacks is weaving your movement in between basic attacks. I think it's actually something Lunara does interestingly and well, especially with her kind of unique movement style. I think that's actually one of the pluses for her character. I think it's a big downside, though, for Tychus, and it's a very big downside for Zul'jin, where you can do interesting movement and stutter stepping while he's at high health, but then because his attack speed keeps changing based off of his health, being actually able to effectively stutter step is so unintuitive and cumbersome and clunky, it becomes very dull. And for the most part, Zul'jin's just kind of turret up and stand there and just blast axes. I think it's got a cool berserker troll vibe going on, but I think in terms of actual gameplay, it's quite simplistic and quite bland. Despite, I do like the swirly axes, his W, where he's got the axes, the twin cleave or twin arc or whatever, I don't know what it's called. It spins around. It's an interesting shaped skill shot. That's kind of fun. And obviously Taz Dingo is an iconic ability. Become unable to die for a few seconds. So again, you turret up and just throw axes at people. Fine, I guess. Or then guillotine, which, or guillotine, as I think the correct pronunciation is guillotine. It's a relatively interesting skill shot, which does more damage based off of how low your life is. So he's got that stuff going for him. So he's got some interesting ideas. The thing that, again, puts me off of Zul'jin is just fundamentally, at the end of the day, about 90% of the gameplay boils down to just standing still and just basic attacking somebody with no movement or nothing. It's just kind of AFK basic attacking, which is quite dull. Okay, next up in the C tier, I'm going to put in Mephisto. I believe Mephisto is a primeval on the same level as Azmodan and Diablo, or similar power level to them. But I don't know, something about him, he just seems a little bit bland, a little bit boring compared to those guys who I feel like have so much character and are so unique. I feel like Mephisto is quite dull in comparison. He's got some interesting stuff going on too with, I think his W in particular is interesting, being that channeled line of lightning in a circle around him, which does damage while heroes are in it. So you got that interesting gameplay of having to move to position Mephisto in an interesting way to get that lightning to actually do some damage. So I think that's pretty cool. I also think that his get the channeled ultimate he has, basically Karthus ultimate from League of Legends. That's what it is. It is a fun ultimate to have in the game, where you channel and it will do damage to every enemy hero on the map globally after a few seconds. That's pretty cool. It doesn't really synergize very much with the rest of his stuff, but it's there and it's pretty cool. But yeah, I think for me, Mephisto, I don't put him up into a higher tier just because, I don't know, he just doesn't wow me. He just really doesn't wow me. His gameplay loop, it's got a core gameplay loop of cooldowns and playing around your cooldown reduction with your trait by hitting people with your spells. So that's kind of fun and interesting. His heroic is also fun and looks dramatic, so that's always very cool. But I don't know, he just doesn't feel like he has a big enough impact on the game. He's just kind of there. I think for a Primeval, which should be kind of a WoW character, like Diablo is very much a WoW character, like as in not a World of Warcraft, but a character that makes you, it's interesting. He's dramatic. I don't think Mephisto is. He's just kind of there. Sorry, Mephisto fans, but there you go. And then finally, in the C tier, the other hero I'm going to put in, which again is going to probably shock and hurt some people's feelings, is Falstad, though. I would put Falstad at the top of the C tier for sure, but he is nonetheless still a C tier hero for me. One of the things I don't like about Falstad, again, it's been something I've mentioned for some of the other heroes here, is that I think for a ranged assassin for whom basic attacks are a core part of their kit, if like Tychus or Zul'jin, those are clunky, or again, even Cassia a bit with her short range, and Tychus with his short range, if those things are clunky, if they feel cumbersome and unresponsive, I think that's a very big downside. And in my opinion, Falstad's basic attacks and his movement do feel very cumbersome and clunky. I'm not exactly sure what it is. I think it's the fact that he actually attacks pretty quickly. Like, he throws these storm hammers really fast, but they don't actually feel like they do very much, you know, compared to a hero like, I mean, let's say Raynor, for example, who I think has good feeling basic attacks. Falstad in comparison really doesn't. They feel cumbersome, they feel clunky, and I think that really detracts a lot from what a hero ought to be. One of the big downsides as well for Falstad, he's got some cool stuff. Like the global is cool. That's fun and that's interesting. I think Mighty Gust is a fun and interesting heroic. I think Hinterland Blast, though, is really terrible. So that definitely detracts from the character. Hinterland Blast just feels very underwhelming. It's just difficult to make it do anything particularly useful. If it misses and doesn't get the cooldown reduction, it's worse than useless. So that's very underwhelming for the character. And I think he'd be a lot more interesting if Boomerang was a baseline ability. So he's obviously got his Storm Hammer. He throws it out. It's a line skill shot. Ultimately, I think most of the gameplay that comes down to, though, is just hitting minion waves as they trickle in a line. It's not actually that particularly exciting in a team fight. I think it gets more fun with Boomerang, where you can reactivate the hammer and make it explode in midair. That's got some fun gameplay to it, but that is a talent and it's quite optional. I think outside of that, the Falstad isn't really that particularly exciting. So yeah, he's obviously a very popular hero and a lot of people do like him, but for me, not a big fan. I think he feels a little bit clunky, and I don't actually like that very much. So there you go. For me, Falstad is C tier and no higher than that. Okay, looking at the B tier then. So these are the heroes where I think things get are doing like some things pretty well. They're doing their niche, they're doing their thing pretty well. And the first one I'm going to put in is Tracer. So Tracer, much like Genji, when people were talking about hating Overwatch heroes, really what they meant was Tracer and Genji. But a lot of people did hate Tracer. And Tracer certainly had, much like Genji, I think, some balance issues. But I think that for a long time now, she's been in a very good place balance-wise. So she's obviously a very high mobility ranged assassin with high or single target damage. She can shoot while moving, which I think is pretty cool. I also really like the fact that she gets her heroic at level 1, so you're kind of charging up that heroic and looking for ganks and looking for plays. I think is quite fun. And I also think that she's got really good counterplay because of her recall ability. She can make plays while recall is active, but once recall is used, you know that she's a lot less effective, and once she's used her pulse bomb, you know that she's less effective while she charges it up again. So I think she's got some great gameplay going there. I actually think it's really good and fun. It's fun to play as, and I think that it's fun actually to play against as well. The downside for me about Tracer is that I think like a lot of Overwatch heroes actually have this problem, which is that she's just Tracer from Overwatch, and all the talent tree in the world, all of Tracer's talents and all the different choices, they really don't change much about Tracer at all. Tracer with any talent build really just feels like Tracer to play as and just feels like Tracer to play against. So you could easily have no talent tree and the hero would be essentially just the same. So for me, that's definitely a downside. Just doesn't have that customization. I felt like, Zarya, for example, I think has the same problem. I ranked Ana higher because I think Ana does a better job with different builds. But Tracer doesn't really have that. Lucio also has the same problem. He just doesn't have that much variety. I almost think it would have been a good thing for Genji if they didn't have X-Strike and they just balanced him around Dragon Strike always. That would have probably been better. But, well, there you go. It's a decision they made. So I think Tracer, she's a good, solid B-tier hero. She's really fun, but she is quite one-dimensional. Another hero that's kind of similar to that I'm going to put in here is Raynor. I think Raynor is a great hero, very solid. What Raynor does well, and the reason I put him as a B-tier hero, is that he is kind of just the simple basic attack hero done really well. I think the Raynor rework was great. It was a really good one. So they added the sort of the ammunition and charging up your gun effect to it, where you charge up your gun for 3 shots, and then the 4th shot is going to do a big chunk of bonus damage. I think it's very simple, but it's a great idea that adds a lot of interest to the hero. Who you shoot with that 4th bullet, the hard-hitting bullet, makes a difference. You have to think about it, and it just adds a little bit of gameplay that's focused in on the basic attacking. And that's most of what Raynor does, and I think that's actually okay. He's a simple hero done well, and that has a good place in the game. He also has 2 cool heroics. Hyperion being, a WoW heroic. It just kind of, it's flashy, it's fancy. Or then you've got the Raynor's Raiders, which is kind of a fun little bonus, bit of single target damage flying around. So that's pretty cool. I like the reset in his basic attacks with his Inspire, his W ability, which gives him some attack speed. I think that's fun as well. And the knockback it's a simple skill shot, but it's fun to use. It has interesting gameplay repercussions, either using it for damage, but risking knocking the enemy to safety, or using it to kind of zone out and knock back a tank because you are very immobile. I think that's fun as well. But yeah, I think Raynor does. He does the very simple basic attacking role, but he does it in a really fun way where his basic attacks are fun, they're responsive, and they feel impactful. And I think that's very important. So I think he does a great job of that and gets a really solid B tier rank from me. Okay, next up in the B tier, I'm actually going to put Azmodan in here. Azmodan pre-rework was terrible. I probably would put Azmodan pre-rework in like the D or the F tier. He had the same problem that Gazlo had, where his basic abilities actually require talents to actually be usable, like the Gazlo laser. It's just bad design. Since the rework, though, I think he fits in a pretty good place. The thing I like about Azmodan is he's just fun to play. He's just fun to play. He's so bizarre, but he makes for a very enjoyable hero. So one thing I love about him is he's just this big hulking walking ball of meat. He's got a massive health pool. He's super tanky. He's super slow moving around, and I think that's quite fun for a ranged assassin who are normally very squishy. Well, with Azmodan, you suddenly have more health than some of the tanks in the game do. And some of the bruisers, so that is quite hilarious, and I think that's interesting, and I think it builds into like a fun gameplay thing where as the Azmodan you can actually move more forwards into the team fight and get beat up a lot and basic attack people, and you feel fine with it. He's like a giant massive dude with like spider legs and nipple rings, and he feels like a giant massive dude with big spider legs and nipple rings. You feel like this big slow guy, kind of likes being a bit sadistic, but not masochistic's the word, likes being beat up. I think that's fun, right? I also think the general, his trait is a really, really cool mechanic, right? Just slap it down in a side lane or consider where your minions are and it just enhance that push a little bit. So it feels like there's some relevant gameplay. Unlike the Abathur Locust, like Abathur Locust, for example, I gave out about in the last tier list in the support one, saying that they feel very underwhelming. Abathur's general, on the other hand, I feel like does have a noticeable impact, especially if you put it with a Merc camp, split pushing. But it also doesn't feel unfair. It doesn't ruin the game. It's just something to be aware of, a nice bonus, and it's an interesting gameplay decision every minute or so that Azmodan gets to make, which is cool. I also like his dunk mechanic a lot. I think it's a great one. It used to be bad. The dunk used to do too much damage. It was bad. Again, it fell into that what I mentioned with like Kel'Thuzad and Chromie of just chunking people out of range, which isn't fun. I think the dunk now though it's actually pretty balanced. It feels okay actually to play around. It's pretty cool. And you get the interesting options of dunking minion waves and stacking up your quest, killing minions, last hitting minions with a dunk, or hitting heroes with the dunk to stack up your quest. It's cool and fun and interesting. It's a baseline quest that works. And yeah, I think that's just kind of badass. And he's got the summoner thing going on too. You can have the silly split push Asmodan, and that's cool. So yeah, that's what I like about Asmo. And I do like he's got a variety of builds now. You can build into the laser, you can build into the dunk, you can kind of focus on how do I want to make my summon stronger as well. You can enhance your dunk, you can get the one which summons in a bunch of dudes, the army of whatever, army of hell, I don't know, but obviously that's not very viable at high levels, whereas it's quite dominant at lower levels. But I do think, I don't know, I just like Asmodan. I have a soft spot for him. I think definitely one missed opportunity which does drag him down is I think, you know, he does have some really cool, very cool basic attack talents, but they're just not good. They got nerfed, I think. They're just not viable, so there's just never a reason to take them, which I think is a pity, because I think it is an interesting aspect of him. Or same thing like the laser build. It's just there's some viability concerns with Asmodan, with him actually, whether or not the talents are actually good and worth taking. You've got a lot of cool ideas in there, like the bombardment, where after you dunk, your next few attacks are going to just ban cleave in front of you. That's cool. That's badass. Kind of gives you that artillery platform feel. You're a giant nipple ringed artillery platform. Awesome. Well, who doesn't want to be that? But yeah, it's just they're not that good, which does leave him, I think, in the B tier, being really fun and different, with some viability concerns that make him a little bit worse. I'm also gonna put in here, where is he? Oh, he's right here at the top. I'm going to put Phoenix in the B tier as well. Again, these tiers, they don't have any particular order. I mean, maybe Phoenix I consider a bit better than Asmodan. Phoenix, again, he's a hero. He's got like a lot of cool, interesting niche mechanics. He doesn't necessarily wow me, but I think he's pretty fun. He's pretty nice. Obviously a core part of Phoenix is the regenerating shield. It captures that Protoss feeling of playing around your shields and having a small squishy health pool but having a big shield to protect yourself, and I think Phoenix captures that well. I think his Q ability is quite fun as well, that you can set the size of the circle and this laser will spin around you, so different sizes. You know, you can stand in the middle of a minion wave with a small circle to kill that wave quickly. You can have the laser be bigger, and it does interact with some of his talents in a fun way. I think flipping between your two different attack modes, like the long range splashing attack or the short range laser, that feels pretty good as well. And both of its heroics they're not, you know, the most exciting things in the world, but they're pretty interesting. I think Planet Cracker obviously looks incredible, but much like Falstad Laser, it's so thin it often struggles to do anything particularly viable. Though it's kind of funny interactions on Braxis made it a bit more interesting, I have to say. Or then he's got his, you know, the target sweep where he locks onto people and then fires a salvo barrage. I think that's pretty cool. I do say his talents, again, the talents don't really wow me. They don't really wow me at all, but they're there, and he's got a couple of different builds that have small differences but aren't that interesting or that overwhelming. I think he's kind of much like Tracer. Just the core identity of his kit is pretty fun and pretty unique. But, you know, he doesn't have all that much variety and doesn't stand out enough to be higher tier. But I think he's a good solid hero with enough quirks and gimmicks to make him a good B tier hero. Also in the B tier, I'm going to put Gul'dan. I'm going to be honest with you, I almost put Gul'dan in the C tier. I almost did. I think Gul'dan, he tries to be really cool and he somewhat misses the mark. You obviously have the life tap mechanic, which is very cool, you know, sacrificing your health for mana, and then having drain health and a number of different talents like Healthstone or was it Dark Pact or whatever, you know, sacrificing minions to heal yourself. That stuff is really cool, but I think one thing that definitely for sure stops Gul'dan getting anywhere higher than B, makes him kind of lucky to get into the B tier actually, is that, well, the whole Drain Life talent build has just really struggled to be all that viable. And the Drain Life ability itself just definitely does feel a little bit clunky in terms of its team play. It's more like something you use a bit more out of combat just to heal yourself up. it feels a bit clunky to use in combat. So that's a big downside for me. Whereas Corruption and then his Fell Flame or whatever his Q, those both are fine. They feel fun and interesting. Obviously, Horrify is a very strong heroic, and it's pretty cool. It's an interesting effect. Short range with the cast time, but does the fear effect. I think that's kind of unique. And again, it's not amazing, but it's a good, solid heroic that's good to be in the game. I think Reign of Destruction is really cool, but just has really struggled to be viable. I think it's better now after the last patch. I actually like the randomness of Reign of Destruction. I think that's quite fun. It's got some viability concerns, I think, much like Asmodan, but it's easy to see that with, and maybe another little buff or so, that Reign of Destruction could become, a really interesting and fun heroic to play around. But yeah, that for me is Gul'dan. He's got a Q build, which is okay. It's mostly about that Corruption build, the E build. So yeah, for me, he just barely squeaks into that B tier, I have to say. He's got a decent gameplay loop, and he's got some interesting ideas of playing around with his health bar and self-healing, but I feel like those things, when it comes to a team fight, just don't translate into gameplay that's super interesting. But there you go. I'll just about squeeze him into B. Another B tier hero, we got a few in here that I actually think make the cut, very much so. I'm actually going to put Orphea in the B tier. There's a lot to love about Orphea. I do think. I think I love her Q ability. I think her Q ability is phenomenal. This sort of narrow cast, sort of tentacle whip thing. That when you hit it, it gives you a dash. I think that's badass. And I actually really like her trait as well, where as you hit heroes with spells, you get up to 3 charges of your trait, and that enhances your next basic attack, do a big burst of spell damage and heal her. I think that's awesome. It's really cool and really unique. I like how her chomp ability interacts with that as well. And she's super visually impressive. She really is. You got your chomp ability, so you can hit someone with your Q, dash in, chomp, hit them with the Q, dash back out, and then slap it with a basic attack, and have like a cool little gameplay loop happening there, which I think is really nice. The reason I only have Orphea in the B tier though is I don't like her heroics. I don't like the heroics. The problem I have is, again, something I mentioned with Kel'Thuzad. It's the problem of like the one-shot build, and that really detracts from Orphea. It brings her down a lot. Is that her heroic, the Grasping Jaws heroic, it's got the problem of being too viable, and it just pushes Orphea into a gameplay style where instead of having this hero who's all about interesting sustained damage, managing her trait, dashing around the place, choosing her moments, like a really interesting idea of a mage, it just pushes her too much towards that idea of being this wombo combo one-shot mage, where it's like, okay, you get your jaws down, you throw your E, like the chompy dinosaur thing, you throw that underneath them, and then you just Q in and you chomp them, and then you get talents that synergize with that just enhance that blow up, and it's all about just this one big wombo combo blow up. I just think that's boring. I think we've got enough like burst mages in the game as it is. I think that Orphea's other identity of that more sustained damage mage, really interesting shaped spells and really interesting uses and mobility. I think that was a lot more interesting. I think if she didn't have, honestly, she'd be better off without the Jaws heroic. I think in terms of design, she'd be a more fun hero. It would easily be an A tier hero, and arguably could definitely contest for being an S tier hero, I think. But it's just the problem, the Jaws thing. It's just, I'm building for that just wombo burst is just too good that this just feels like there's not another reason. There's no reason to take her other heroic, which is cool, but it's just not good enough. So that's definitely, it's a big drawback for me. Kind of like Gul'dan, Reign of Destruction is cool, but it's just not good enough. Same thing with Orphea. So yeah, she's a hero with great potential, but just gets drawn back a little bit by a synergy within her talent build with one heroic. That kind of just makes her playstyle quite boring, actually, quite simple, and yeah, I don't like that. But she's got really nice potential. Also in here, I'm going to put Probius in the B tier. I actually really like Probius. I almost put him a tier higher, I'm not going to lie. I think Probius is super cool. He's very unique. Like super squishy little probe. He just zips around the place, and he's all about building up those turrets and setting up these little zones of control and blowing them up. I think it's pretty awesome. So I really do like that about him. And he also has got some interesting builds. Like you can build into more of those explosions, or you can build into making your turrets stronger. I think that's quite fun. And, setting up your pylons, kind of building your area of control, kind of ahead of time for fights and for objectives. I think that's a really nice gameplay style. So I actually really like that about Probius. definitely one of the things that's a drawback for him. Is definitely the null gate heroic is very underwhelming. Again, it's something it kind of looks kind of cool, and you're like, okay, I'm kind of glad they tried it, but it sucks. So it really needs quite a lot of changes. Whereas the overcharged pylon heroic looks cool and is viable and is fun as well, because you have to set up your pylons ahead of time. So I think that's really interesting and unique. Obviously, Probius does struggle a bit with viability and exactly how he fits into the game. Like, what's he supposed to do? He's obviously supposed to be sort of like a ranged solo laner. Kind of like Phoenix does that job very well. He's very good at it. He's very viable. Probius, not quite as much. And he can struggle a bit to fit into the team fights. But I just think that I like what he does. I do. I like what he does. I think he's got style. I think he's unique. He's got character. It's just a pity that he is so unpopular. And that he sort of struggles to fit into the game. But I actually like a lot of what Probius does, and he's a very solid B tier hero for me, actually. So there you go. There's Probius. Then, yes, just one more hero here for the B tier. I'm going to put this in, and where is that hero? There they are. It's Sergeant Hammer. So I actually think Sergeant Hammer is quite fun. She's quite unique. What I like about Hammer is that she's got like a very clear gameplay style that has got lots of counterplay and lots of synergy, and kind of you could just build sort of comps around that and countering that, and I actually quite enjoy it. So, you know, for Hammers, you siege up. With your siege up, you got that extra range with basic attacks, and you can sort of start blasting away from really far away. But she's super vulnerable to skill shots. She's super vulnerable to being engaged upon. But I don't know, I just think it's a really fun gameplay style. What I like about it is that there are so many counters to it. So she's kind of niche. You kind of need to be a bit careful about how you pick her. But much like it just makes sense though. It's like, well, you're bringing a siege tank. It's big, it's slow, it does good damage though, and it's got a lot of range on it. It kind of makes sense that would have a lot of weaknesses, but then also have a lot of strengths if you're able to protect her and build around her. So I think that's quite fun. And again, I think both of her heroics are quite fun as well, and they fit in nicely. Her thrusters add some interesting gameplay, you know, where you can instantly cancel out of your siege mode to thrust her away. So that's kind of fun playing around that. I think kind of like Raynor, she does the basic attack job well, of being, you know, a very simple, in some ways, basic attack hero, but with that core siege up identity that has a lot of gameplay built into it. So yeah, I like it. I have to say, I think it's quite cool. It's quite unique. I think she deserves a nice B spot. Definitely not the best hero in the B tier, but probably not the worst either. I think she does deserve to be there. And yeah, Sergeant Hammer, I actually quite like her. I think she's cool. Okay, looking at the top two tiers then, we've got quite a few heroes left that can go into these slots. So some of these heroes that I think are actually really good examples of something done well. The first hero I'm going to put into the A tier. I'm going to put Vala into the A tier here. She's going to be one of the first heroes I put in there. I think Vala does the basic attack hero, one of the best in the entire game. She's really fun. I think Vala is great. With Vala, you've got the idea of being like this fast, mobile, quick shooting hero. Again, one thing I love about Vala is she feels very responsive. Again, it's a big contrast to Falstad or Zul'jin, where Vala, she does have that fast basic attack like Falstad has, but she feels responsive. It's snappy, the control is good while you're moving around with her, and I have to say I really do like that. And then I love how she is squishy. You know, you feel like this, you feel like a demon hunter. You feel like you're quick, you're nimble, you got your crossbows, you're doing good damage, but you are very vulnerable, so you always have to be on your toes. Obviously, her basic abilities are relatively simple, but one thing I do like about her a lot is that she's got several viable and very distinctive talent builds. So you can build into her Q ability, into her Hungering Arrow for some of that sort of single target nuking. You can build into her W for more of that AoE and wave clear sort of damage. You can even build into her Vault, though that's probably not that recommended, but you can build into the Vault and like the Caltrops. You can even build into her basic attacks, and each of those builds, it feels distinctive to play it as that. And I think that's really important as well. It all feels like it has a place, and I love that variety. She also has got two interesting heroics, I think, in Strafe, which is like the channel damage heroic, or then the generally better, the stun, the Rain of Vengeance, which gives you a stun. So yeah, I do think, again, that she is a relatively straightforward character. She's kind of, you know, I think she's one of the first ranged assassins added to the game, and I think she's kind of the archetype in a lot of ways of a ranged assassin. I just think that she does it really well. She's just very good, very solid. Doesn't she's not the flashiest hero in the entire game, but she just does what she does in a really solid way, a really good way, a really fun way. So she's easily a really high ranking A tier character for me in terms of game design. Also in the A tier, I'm going to put in Junkrat in the A tier. I don't like him as much as I do like Vala, but I still think he deserves to be an A tier hero. So Junkrat, he brings a lot of interesting gameplay with his mine and with the traps that he can throw down. I think that's really cool. I also like the ammo mechanic with his frag launcher. I think he's one of the best Overwatch heroes to be added to the game. I think he translated in a really interesting way to this game. But I just like the gameplay variety with Junkrat of, you can use your mine to reposition yourself. You can use it to knock enemy heroes away. You can use it to knock enemy heroes into you. You can create some of that zoning with your traps. And you got like that interesting gameplay with your wave clear and your frag launcher, while still, again, being this very squishy hero. So you can do these cool plays, and you got great zoning, but you kind of need to rely on those to keep you safe because you're so vulnerable and you'll die so quickly if you aren't careful. So I think that's fun. I also do like both of his heroics. They're both very flashy heroics, very dramatic. I think that's one thing I like about Junkrat. He's got this very dramatic character, all about just explosions and chaos, and that really translates very well into the gameplay. Like the Riptire, big AoE damage with knockback that you get to control and drive around. That's really fun and unique. Or then Rocket Ride, where you jump on a giant rocket and explode yourself on top of them and respawn on a rocket and rejoin the fight quickly. I think that's also very cool. So yeah, I do like a lot about Junkrat. He obviously got a rework recently, which tried to give him talent variety. And I think it did an okay job. Maybe a couple of balance patches and he'll be in a really good spot where you can build around his Q and his basic attacks a bit. You can build around his mines. You can build around his traps now, and it feels meaningful. So I think that's quite fun and quite cool. I do think his level 20 Riptire upgrade is overpowered right now, which is bad. But there you go. That's Junkrat. I think he does an interesting job of being a fun, chaotic hero that just has a lot of interesting ways that he interacts with the game and with the enemy team, while being very squishy and vulnerable himself, and relying on playing him well and using your zoning to have an impact on the fight. So he's very cool. I like Junkrat. Also in the A tier, I'm going to put Hanzo. Hanzo for me is an A tier hero. Hanzo had a lot of balance problems, so that that makes him a bit tough to rank just because of the historical problems he's had with balancing. A lot of his stuff was super broken. Like W build Hanzo was for a long time really broken. You'd kill bosses in like 5 seconds. It was ridiculous. Obviously that's been nerfed and nerfed and nerfed and is now much more reasonable. But that was a problem. But at its core, Hanzo does, I think, a good job of being an interesting sniper-style hero. He's got a kind of a slow, responsive basic attack that feels chunky, feels weighty. And then you've got his Q ability is quite interesting, where you charge up your bow, you draw it back, and you have that sniper shot. His W is obviously a very interesting skill shot as well, bouncing it off walls and ricocheting around. And we've got a lot of interesting skill plays that you can do with that. I think both of his heroics are relatively interesting as well. I also do like that you can build him a couple of ways. You can build his basic attacks. You can build into the W. You can build into the Q. Obviously, there's a lot of balance issues around those different things, but he's kind of got to the point now, I think, where he feels relatively reasonable. Obviously, you guys who watch my stream know I've got a particular hatred for Hanzo. Obviously, Hanzo, in terms of viability, is like a tier 1 or like S tier hero in terms of viability in the game. And he has been basically for forever. So one of the things that absolutely drives me bananas is that because he's such a skill cap hero, you're always rolling the dice when you get a Hanzo in your team and like Master or Grandmaster, because you could get someone that's like a Grandmaster Hanzo main that's going to be really good on Hanzo and hit their abilities and have a great impact. But then if there's like a 50-50 chance that you're going to get like this Master player that's barely played Hanzo before, the classic, I call them the 35% win rate Hanzos. They're Hanzos that have a sub 40% win rate on that character, usually like mid 30s. But they're picking it because they know that he's an S tier here. They know he's one of the best ranged assassins in the game. So by God, they're going to play him so they can finally reach GM. Just ignoring the fact that they suck. So I have a potential, like, they just can't play the character. It doesn't work if you don't hit your skill shots. So I have a particular hatred for Hanzo players. I have to say, from my ranked experiences, I really don't like him. But that being said, I still think that he is a cool hero, a skill-based hero. he has been crippled historically by balance problems, which he could never be S tier for me in terms of design because of those balance problems. But I think he does make a good solid A tier hero with interesting skill shots and skill gameplay. And both of his heroics are now somewhat viable. They made the Dragon Strike not a meme heroic. They've made it a lot better. It was kind of hilarious how much they buffed it to make it not a meme heroic, but it's no longer as much of a meme heroic anymore, so I think that's good. And Dragon's Arrow is a really interesting one. You know, long range stun, it gets better the further it travels. That's cool. So yeah, A tier for me in that. I'm gonna put Nazeebo in the A tier as well. I think Nazeebo, kind of like Azmodan, he's quite a fun, kind of weird, sort of derpy hero, kind of like Probius as well, sort of these derpy, weird, unique heroes. What I like about Nazeebo, I love Nazeebo's baseline quest. It's one of the best quests in the game, where whenever you kill a minion that has, you apply poison when you hit a minion with a spell or with your basic attack, and if that dies with poison, it gives you permanent maximum health and maximum mana. It's a really fun quest. You can just stack up on Nazeebo, and over the course of the game, become really tanky. And I think it's great. It's just a great quest. It's a great mechanic to build into it. I think his abilities all have their nuances and are interesting to use. Like his Jar of Spiders has an interesting projectile speed and shape, interesting effects. So there's quite a lot of gameplay in terms of aiming that properly and well and being effective with it. His Toads, which sort of hop outwards slowly. Again, it's a very interesting skill to use. It's kind of a wacky one. Even his Wall of Zombies has that big cast time to it. And can lock somebody in when you catch them, but it's difficult to catch them. So again, it's got interesting gameplay with that as well. I think it's awesome. He's also got 2 great heroics in Gargantuan or the Ravenous Spirit. They're both flashy, they're both viable, they're both interesting. And then he's got, obviously, I think one downside for Nazeebo is the level 20, where, you know, they really should just make Vile Infection at this point. They should just make that. Just make it a baseline part of him. You know, you reach 200 stacks and then bam, your poison does a bit more damage and also like applies to heroes more effectively. Something like that. They should include a weaker version of that level 20 quest into it. It's such a core part of Nazeebo's identity, just the level 20 Nazeebo power spike. And I think that's really fun, but it just kind of drowns out his other level 20 taunts, which are actually pretty interesting, but you just never really get to see them because it's all about finishing that quest. So they really should just make that a baseline aspect of him, and maybe have an enhanced option at level 20 to make it even better, that sort of thing. But yeah, I do like the basic gameplay design that Nazeebo has. And again, you can build into your Qs, you can build into your zombie wall, you can build into your Toads. And they have different build paths, which is cool. Again, struggles a little bit with viability for those different things over the different patches. He got, you know, his spider build, for example, got hit pretty hard when they increased everyone's movement speed and made that skill shot less reliable. That was a little rough. But there you go. There's Nazeebo. He's got, you know, a few little balance issues because of the movement speed primarily and the unique way that his skill shots travel. You know, 10% move speed given to everybody just across the board made those skill shots a lot more inconsistent. But he's kind of coming back from that a little bit, and I think he is a good A-tier hero. He's kind of very unique and interesting and viable, and has his own weird way of playing the game, which I think is nice. I'm going to put Jaina in the A-tier as well. I think Jaina is a fantastic mage. Again, a much better Frost Mage than Kel'Thuzad is awful. But I like Jaina a lot. I think Jaina is super fun. She's got a great trait where her abilities chill a person, so that slows their movement speed down, so that's cool. Then she also sort of shatters that. She has the shatter effect from like the Frost Mage in WoW, where when you hit somebody that's slowed by your abilities, your next ability will do more damage. So you have like a cool combo gameplay mechanic going on with Jaina, where if you can hit somebody with multiple of your abilities, that they'll trigger bonus damage. And I think that's really fun and unique. I also like Blizzard. I think it's a great example of a mage spell. Where, you know, it's very powerful if you can hit someone with multiple waves of Blizzard, but you kind of have to, you know, you have to think about your positioning of it, and there's nice counterplay to it. Getting out of the Blizzard reduces her effectiveness. Again, I already mentioned before, I think her Cone of Cold is a great ability as well. You know, obviously it hits really hard and interacts with her trait, but it is a very short range spell, so it makes her vulnerable. And then her Q ability on a short cooldown is fun as well, and firing that off. She also has some interesting talent variety. You can build her into her Q, you can build into the Blizzard. She has some interesting choices. I think one downside is the viability of some of those choices definitely has an impact. Like the Blizzard talents are quite cool, they're just not very good. So that's obviously a big downside for Jaina. But I think, Jaina with a few balancing patches probably could easily squeeze probably into the S tier. I think in the past at certain times that she was balance-wise an S tier hero for me. But like right now, it's hard. It's hard enough to justify like Ring of Frost heroic. It's hard enough to justify the Blizzard talents, for example. Those things are they're just difficult to make work. They're difficult to be consistent. So I think that does draw her down a little bit. Water Elemental is obviously a very cool thing as well, and she's got a great baseline quest. And another example of a good baseline quest where just doing damage will eventually unlock Ice Block to protect yourself. I think it's a good way. It's not an overpowered thing at all. It's just a nice little bonus that feels good when you get it. It lets you make a few more sort of aggressive little plays as Jaina, which helps landing those Blizzards and Kona Colds, or helps landing the Ring of Frost. That's quite fun. On Water Elemental, I mentioned that too. That's a fun little thing, being able to move that around, and it applies your trait as well. It applies the chill, so it gives you some combos there. So yeah, I'm a really big fan of Jaina. I think she's super fun. Got great gameplay, great counterplay. Just fits really well into the game. Just definitely some talent things which I think drag her down for sure. Okay, another A tier hero. We've got a couple more to go here in the A tier. I'm gonna put Zagara in the A tier. I think Zagara, out of all the sort of specialist type characters that we talked about, I think she's got the most attention with her reworks and probably does the best job of feeling kind of relevant and viable. So Zagara still has that sort of summoner feel and manages to pull it off, I think, quite well. She's obviously a very unique character, setting up her creep, spreading that around. I think Nidus Network is really interesting. It's the Nidus Network that's an A tier hero design, I think. I think Devouring Maw, again, much like Gazlo Gravo Bomb, is kind of a relic of the past. It doesn't really fit that well, so that would obviously completely exclude her, I think, for me, from the S tier. But I think that Nidus Network Zagara is a really interesting and unique hero who's about, spreading their creep around the map and sort of controlling the map, setting up their networks around the creep network, the Nidus network, and then sort of teleporting around the map, summoning in all her roaches and the Banelings and the Hydralisks and letting them push down the lanes. I think it's super fun and super unique. She's got some interesting talents. I think the talent variety is a little bit of a concern with Zagara, and whether those talents actually feel impactful. That's definitely an issue for her. But I just think that fundamentally that Nidus Network Zagara and just the way that she plays the map, it feels very fair. It's got strengths, it's got weaknesses. I just think that she manages to capture the idea, that original idea of the specialist from back when the game came out, where damage dealers were separated into assassins and specialists. Assassins did hero damage, specialists did siege damage and push down lanes. I think most other specialists kind of fell off a lot and they've kind of struggled to actually fit in the game anymore. I think Zagara actually succeeded at that. So for me, that gets her into the A tier. Okay, and maybe we'll do, there's going to be one controversial hero in the A tier. Before that, though, I'm going to put Sylvanas in. I think Sylvanas, she's kind of like Vala, but maybe a bit more exciting than Vala, actually, now. I think she's another really good rework. And Sylvanas is actually a great hero. She's really, really fun to play around now. Yeah, I think that she's just got a bunch of great feeling abilities. And she's got a lot of interesting talent builds, too. You can build into Shadow Dagger. You can build into her Q. I think the Windrunner talent in particular is really fun, where your Haunting Wave, when you activate that, it resets your Q for some single target nuking, and then gives you another cast, so it gives her some cool mobility. I think Wailing Arrow is a really interesting team fight. Heroic, I usually hate silence effects with a passion in this game. I think they're awful. But I like it with Wailing Arrow. I think it actually works pretty well. And there's fun gameplay with the Wailing Arrow, with aiming it, with choosing the moment of detonation. I think it's a great heroic. But yeah, I think her core style is nice. Throw your Shadow Dagger on someone and you have to shoot them to spread that dagger dot around to multiple people. That's cool. Or like your Q, you fire those free arrows at people, the barrage of arrows, but you have to kind of maintain in range of them to kind of choose who it targets. I like how her basic attack, you stack up to 3 times of that black arrow stacks, and then you start doing bonus damage to that target. That's fun and unique. And obviously the Sylvanas trait is really iconic as well. The black arrows, to activate it, and then you disable structures and minions and mercenaries with your basic attacks and abilities. I think that's really cool. It's a great part of the rework with removing that as a passive ability and making that an active ability. So it removed a lot of the problem with Sylvanas, which was like these just mindless pushing Sylvanas compositions, which some teams just couldn't counteract. I think the new Sylvanas she feels really fun. Got a number of different ways you can play her. Got really cool talents, I think. And yeah, great gameplay. Now, one downside is obviously his mind control heroic. She used to have possession, was her original heroic. They actually reworked it. They made that a talent, a really cool talent, level 4. And they gave her mind control as her heroic. It's like a skill shot and you force someone to run towards you. It's absolutely garbage. It's awful. It's one of the worst heroics in the game. It absolutely sucks. Wailing Arrow is pretty much always better every single time. So that's definitely a big downside for Sylvanas. You know, they're like, we can just start afresh, give her a totally new heroic, and it's dreadful. So that's definitely a bummer. You know, and her level 20 upgrades are pretty dull as well. But I think on the whole, apart from those things, she's got a cool talent tree. She's got cool, fun gameplay, and it's kind of interesting and unique. And she does a good job of kind of feeling like a nice ranged assassin. They gave her an assassin feel, which I think is appropriate for Sylvanas and fits well. So there you go. I am a fan. And finally in the A tier, I'm going to put Chromie in here, which is maybe going to shock a lot of people. Chromie is historically one of the most hated heroes in the game, and I would agree with you in the past. Chromie has had, I feel at this point, maybe more reworks than a lot of different heroes. She's been reworked many times. Many times. Poor old Chromie. But I actually think that she's finally ended up in a good place. I think it's taken a long time, a lot of work, but she's ended up in a good place. Like the original Chromie was all about just chunking your health from ridiculous range so you couldn't see it coming. So that was awful. That sucked. Or she built Temporal Loop and just one-shot comboed you out of the Temporal Loop with massive range that you could do nothing about. It was dreadful. It was very much like Kel'Thuzad. Awful design. Then they gave her a baseline quest to try to mask that horribleness, which was also horrible in its own way. The baseline quest, it was clunky, it was horrible. If she finished that quest early because your teammates sucked, it just felt dreadful because now you had this super powered Chromie like just chunking people. It was awful. I think then there was another rework where they added in these trap talents, which were even worse, where the trap, when she activated you, it caught you in the trap, in her time trap, it would reset her abilities. So at that point then she would just temporal loop you into a trap and she just like combo you with traps, so you just keep getting frozen in time traps, blasted by Chromie spells, frozen in time traps, looped back, blasted, caught in a time trap. It was dreadful. Again, she's finally, I think, in actually a really good spot where they went, you know what, this whole like one shot and long range chunking thing, it just actually sucks. It's just really fucking bad. Nobody likes it. Just what if we just get rid of that entirely? And what if we make her Q ability? Yes, it's got, give it shorter range. Okay. And how about we make the sand echo a really big part of that? So when you cast Q, it leaves a sand echo, and that will mimic your Q ability. So it gives her setup time, and it's more interesting gameplay because it's about aiming the Q not only with the Chromie but with the sand echo as well. Okay, that's pretty cool. That makes her a lot better. It's much less about that instant one shot, that instant chunk, and it gives her some setup. Cool, great. What about her W ability? Okay, how about we remove the whole, and like, Jesus, her W, at one point you couldn't see it, then you could see it, then you couldn't see it. It was all over the place. I have a fun video on the Chromie reworks at one point if you ever want to watch that. That was fun to make. But they said with the W ability, again, what if we make it not one big chunky hit, but what if we have it land like 3 times? And hey, you know what? It works great, right? Because if, it has great damage potential across its whole cast, but there's lots of counterplay where you can recognize which direction it's traveling and you can dodge maybe the second, certainly the third part of that. But it adds like a nice skill element. So I think they've done a good job. They fixed temporal loop as well, where they said, okay, we give it a shorter cast range, so it's not like just a free kill on somebody. And then also because we've really nerfed down Chromie's just single target burst damage and just the burst damage in general, made her more about sustained damage with those echoes. No longer is it you're being looped back into instant blow up from Chromie, but you're being looped back into good damage from Chromie, but it really requires coordination from the rest of her team. So it feels powerful, but not as unfair as it used to feel, which is very important, I think. So yeah, I like a lot about what they changed with her. I do think her talent tree is still a bit meh. It's still not the best. And certainly her second heroic, Slowing Sands, feels very rather underwhelming. It doesn't feel really anywhere near as impactful as Temporal Loop does. Oh, I also like with Temporal Loop how they added cooldown reduction while the loop is active. So again, they put a lot of strength into being able to like be disruptive and stuff while the loop is happening and punish enemy teams that are trying to come in to protect that loop person. You get some value out of that instead of being all about blowing up that person at the end of the loop. So yeah, I actually think Chromie, in terms of design, is now a good hero. I actually think she's really nice and really fun to play against. So long as you can get over just the horrifically bad level of design that was in all of the previous iterations of Chromie. It took several reworks to fix her, but I think that they finally did. They finally did by making radical changes and making her not about that burst damage as much anymore. Obviously, Blessings of the Bronze is really overpowered with the first iteration of this rework. I think Piercing Sands is overpowered now, but she's most of the way to being a good and interesting hero. So there you go. Then finally, we have the S tier. I'm going to put 3 heroes here into the S tier. First hero I'm going to put in is Kael'thas. I think Kael'thas is a lot of fun. He's kind of like the archetype, I guess, of the standard sort of mage type character, and I think he does it really well. You know, big character, immobile, but like really powerful spells. He's got, you know, the skill shot stun effect, nice. He's got like the living bomb, a bit of point and click to be true, but interesting gameplay there with like spreading the bomb and just being a little bit careful of that. And then Flame Strike is a nice and satisfying spell to form the core of his damage, the bulk of his damage. I absolutely love his trait as well. I love the decision making of his trait. His trait has got a short cooldown, 6 seconds, and you can use it to empower any of his basic abilities. So I just love that decision making process. Do I want to empower my stun? Let it stun more people for longer. Do I want to empower Flame Strike? Make it bigger, make it easier to land, hit more people with it. Do I want to empower my living bomb? Give it an instant cooldown and also make it cost no mana. I just really like the gameplay of Kael'thas. It's just good, solid gameplay where you're constantly making interesting decisions in terms of your skill shots, in terms of your trait, and I think that's fantastic. I also think there's really nice counterplay to Kael'thas. You know, his stun is a slow-moving skill shot, so you know, to be caught out by that offensively, you can definitely play around it offensively, so that's good. You know, you can position appropriately to not get stunned and caught by him in a sort of a burst combo that he can do. His burst combo, likewise, isn't necessarily that powerful. He's a bit more towards the AoE damage side of things. So yeah, he can stun you into a Flame Strike and Living Bomb, and it's good burst damage, but it's not like a Kel'Thuzad where he's going to one-shot you. No, that's not going to happen. It's going to take more time. He's more about AoE, and I think that gives him much better balance. I think Phoenix is a cool heroic, and it's well balanced and well designed. I think Pyroblast, obviously, you know, it's some issues with viability. It's got a cool idea, I guess. It's not as good. That's probably the downside for me for Kael'thas, is Pyroblast being a bit but yeah, and again, I like his talents. He's got some fun Living Bomb talents. He's got some fun stun talents for sure that change how you use that stun. He's got some fun trait talents. Maybe a little bit of balancing issues in terms of those talents. Like right now, the Flame Strike stuff is kind of the better end of the bargain. But he's got some good options. I just think that he's got a really fun and just core mage gameplay style that works really well. Yeah, it's just, for me, it's like the archetype of a mage. He's kind of just the idea of what a mage should be. Like big, flashy spells, kind of a bit more focused on that area damage. And that area burst damage, but he does it well. And yeah, I like Kael'thas. I think he's really cool. I'm also going to put Greymane in the S tier. I think Greymane is the best basic attack hero in the game in terms of design. I think he is the most interesting. I just love how Greymane feels. He just, again, you've got that really snappy, really responsive basic attack and movement built around it. And his trait, not his trait, excuse me, but his W, the Inner Beast ability, fits into that really well, where it gives you a big attack speed buff, but you have to keep landing basic attacks to refresh that buff. So you kind of, you know, you got interesting timing stuff, interesting movement that happens around that to maintain that buff and not to drop it off. So I think that's, you know, that's a really fun aspect of him. And he feels good, he feels responsive with that buff active or with it not. And then, of course, Worgen form is obviously the attraction of the Greymane playstyle. Being able to jump into Worgen form, it just adds such an interesting gameplay mechanic of being, okay, I can be in my ranged form, sort of shooting away with my gun. I'm doing lower damage, but I'm safer. And then choosing my moment of when to jump in as a Worgen, and I turn into essentially a melee assassin, doing more damage, a lot more damage, hitting really hard, and got those mobile razor swipes, but leaving myself vulnerable. I just love that whole shapeshifting gameplay mechanic. I think is great, and how he just feels snappy and responsive through both forms. Switching in and out of them is very smooth, works really well. And yeah, I just really like that about Greymane. I think both of his heroics are also cool. Curse Bullet turns you into a human form, and chunks somebody for their current health percentage. It's like a good way to open up the fight. It's pretty badass. Then Go for the Throat is more fun, which gives you that sort of finishing attack, that extra work and aggressiveness. And yeah, it just filters into there's a really nice rhythm to Greymane's gameplay style of choosing your moment to go into working form, of swapping between like the sort of safe, cautious human and the super aggressive Worgen. I think it's awesome, and it works really well. So yeah, for me, Greymane is definitely an S tier. I think he is just that a little bit more unique and interesting and special than, Vala or Sylvanas, who also do, I think, a really good job of being basic attack type heroes. I think Greymane is just a bit more interesting than them. So for me, that puts him in S tier. And then I think probably the best ranged assassin in the game, I'm giving it to Li Ming. I think Li Ming she has the wow factor in spades, and that's what I love about Li Ming. Moments of glory, of feeling really powerful, while also giving the enemy team large moments for counterplay as well. I think that's what's really good about Li Ming. Yeah, Li Ming is just awesome. She's really flashy, and I think that they did a great job of designing a character that captures that feeling of being the mage, of being like this super powered like magic user that can just like suddenly do these spectacular, incredible things, but with limitations that are interesting to play around. Of course, a massive part of Li Ming's kit and those moments of glory, of course, comes from her trait, where all of her abilities reset their cooldown if she gets a kill. So, you've got that interesting gameplay with Li Ming, where if she doesn't get a kill, she's not that strong. But it's not like 100-0 thing like Health is at. It's not like that. She still has an effect. She still feels decent when she's not getting the kills, but it's when you actually get into the team fight and you do start having the potential for those kills that Li Ming actually reaches her full potential, which I think is quite fun and interesting. I like, again, her basic abilities I think are great. Arcane Orb is her hardest hitting basic ability, right? So you fire out the orb, it gets bigger, and it does more damage the further it travels. So there's a lot of counterplay to that just inherently with the ability. The enemy team, you've got the opportunity to dodge out of the orb and not get hit by it. You can move into the orb earlier so that it bursts earlier and does less damage. There's a number of ways that you can play around it, and it also requires a lot of skill and thought from Li Ming to position that orb properly. Even just to hit a minion wave, you have to really think about how you want to fire it, which is cool. Magic Missiles, her baseline Q ability, her most commonly used ability, again, is pretty interesting. It's a relatively difficult to hit skill shot, so it doesn't really feel that frustrating. Other abilities can feel frustrating when you're hit by them. I don't think Magic Missiles really does. You kind of, when you get hit by that, you do respect the skill of the Li Ming for being able to hit it consistently, and I think that's the mark of a good player. Or then Teleport, you can make some interesting plays with Teleport, and there's obviously great talents that build into Teleport as well. So I think that's awesome. She's got 2 great heroics too. Disintegrate, so just going for like a big damage heroic, so that's fun. You get to stand still and spin around and fire the beam. It looks great and it feels fun to play with. Or Wave of Force for that instant effect, with a knockback effect, which is quite interesting as well, and gives her some really cool skill expression where you can use your knockback and Wave of Force to actually knock people into your Arcane Orb or your Magic Missiles. So you can make some really nice plays with that. But yeah, what I love about Li Ming is that there's so much skill that you can put into playing with Li Ming. And I think that's fantastic. And it's like, okay, if she gets several kills in a team fight, she's going to be pretty overpowered. And it gives her as well that really, really fast gameplay style where you have to kind of plan 10 steps ahead, and you can do things like go, oh, I know I can get this kill right now because my team has set it up well, so I'm going to fire off my abilities and move in, and as soon as that kill comes in, I'm ready to fire off my next round of abilities, and I can kind of plan around those resets and just have like this really badass gameplay moment of that stuff happening. Again, Li Ming historically had a lot of balance issues. She was very overpowered when she first came out, and then for a good while afterwards, when she got quite balanced, people still perceived her to be overpowered for a long time, even though she wasn't. I think that right now she's in a relatively reasonable spot. I think she does have, I will say in terms of criticism, she does have some talent concerns, like her Magic Missile talents, for example, generally are relatively underwhelming. Calamity is probably a little bit too good, that sort of thing. I think her new Orb talent at level 4, for example, is just better by far than any other talent at level 4. But she does have a lot of cool things going on. I think she just got a flashy base kit that relies on skill, has got counterplay built into it, and has just real moments of glory that let her pop off and feel amazing. without actually crossing into the realm of overpowered. At one stage, I didn't think that they'd ever bring Li Ming to like a reasonable win rate where she felt like good to play. It didn't feel dumb, but they actually managed to pull that off, which I think is really impressive. They actually managed to make her be a pretty balanced character that still has her identity and still has that skill feeling. And I think that's good. The skill feeling and the skill ceiling are both there, and I think that's great. And there you go, guys. That's my look at the ranged assassins for Heroes of the Storm. I don't think I forgot any. I think we're good. And that brings us to the end of our tier list series as well. As always, let me know what you think. Did you agree with the list? Did you disagree? There was a lot of heroes to get through in this one, so thanks for sticking with it. And again, yeah, that's what I think in terms of heroes that are designed as well as possible, and heroes I think are badly designed. I'm curious to read your comments, and maybe we'll do like a video looking back on some of the comments and looking back on some of the lists, a quick recap-y type thing. That might be fun. Get your feedback and incorporate it into like a shorter, hopefully shorter final thoughts type video. And I've got a couple of other tier list ideas I have in mind as well that we might knock out in the next couple of days too. So stay tuned for those. As always though, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.